Have you ever felt that you were born for a reason greater than yourself? Almost as if your very presence is meant to heal, to uplift, and to awaken the world? Welcome, Lightworker. Welcome on my personal empowerment channel. My name is Doris Victoria. For those of you knowing me already, it's nice to connect with you today again. And for all my new watchers, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time and taking my inspiration, my channelings into your very being. And hopefully you get something out of it. Hopefully you can help yourself raising your vibration, so in order to shine your light brighter. Because I believe that all of us light workers, I always have this image in my head, we're like a match or almost like a candle. And when our light shines, you can then give your light to every candle. Imagine you're the candle, your light is shining, and you have a lot of candles that are not yet illuminated around you. You just hold the candle near you and then they will enlighten. And sometimes I also want to say something at the very beginning of this video. Sometimes you might ask yourself, why am I here where I am? I'm not really needed here, or people cannot see who I am. There's too much darkness still here. Depending on where you are in the world, remember that there where you are, this is where you are needed. Because sometimes, even though people cannot see your light, your presence will shine so bright that people can easier look at each other. So sometimes your light is not necessarily meant to be seen by others. It is also meant to illuminate the area where you are, where you bring your light into, where you bring your beautiful healing presence into, so that people can connect with each other more easily. That's something I want you to remind of today. So in today's video, we are going to discuss 7 signs of you to know if you are a light worker, and how do you keep on track in troubled times, because life here on earth, as you know, is not always easy. And most often us light workers, we come here as very, very old souls. We have had many past incarnations or parallel incarnations here on planet Earth. We know how things are going here. In my case, I remember I have been here during the first sun, the first high-rise civilization, which is also called Lemuria. And the remainings of Lemuria nowadays can be found in the Pacific Ocean, right there on the Hawaiian Islands. And the energy of Lemuria is spreading all the way to Japan and to Western California, Eastern Asia, wherever the Pacific is going. Lemuria was a high-rise, high-vibe civilization. And then the last one, which is not a legend, it has really been here on planet Earth, is Atlantis. And Atlantis is more known than Lemuria, but for those of you that are old souls, you know both of them probably pretty well. So as in my case, I know I've been here during the 5 suns. This is our 5th now. In fact, the 5th sun ended on the 21st of December 2012. And now we are in a so-called countdown as we are going through this shift here on Earth. We are not gonna auto-destroy ourselves this time like we did in all the past civilization, the highly developed civilizations here on Earth. No, this time we are going through the shift of awakened consciousness. And so this video is really meant to bring inspiration and meaning to those of you who have been asking yourself, why am I different? Why do I feel different? So let me start with the first sign. You feel a deep inner calling to help and heal. So you may not always know why, but when you see someone suffering, you will feel deep compassion. Compassion, in fact, is a very how can I say, it's a very astute sign of a light worker. We come here with a very, very deep empathy for all other life forms. We can oftentimes not hurt other life forms. In fact, for those of you knowing me a little bit, I just went to Germany and I saw my mother there, and we went into her garden, and then she had one of those snails without a house, you know, those kind of like those snails that are eating everything. If you have salad or stuff in your garden, my mom always has her little garden. So there was one of those, and she said, "Oh, can you kill this one, please?" And I said, "No, Mom, I can take it away from here. I can put it in the forest, but I'm not gonna kill it." And then she was just like, "Ah, like I'm a coward or weak or something." But for me, it's always been, who am I to decide about the life of another life form? And also when it comes to trees, I've always been very, very sensitive, highly empathetic with trees. And I always felt like I could talk to them and they talked to me. In fact, this is something I have always felt, like all sacred forms of God, which is Mother Gaia, all forms of life on Gaia, not only we human beings, but you know, animals, trees, plants, birds, everything is for me a beautiful sacred form of life and is communicating with us all the time. So it is not so much, how can I say, remember that for the first sign that you feel the deep inner calling to help and heal wherever you are, you will enlighten the area by your presence. And let's say you're still finding yourself in a job that you don't like. It's not so much about what you're doing. That is something very important. Many of my clients are asking me, shouldn't I be doing, you know, different things? Shouldn't I be writing my book? Shouldn't I be coach people? Shouldn't I share my wisdom? Yes, you can do all that. But if you still find yourself in corporate world, you are already bringing your light into where you are. And I remember that whatever I have done before, and I've done many, many things before I started being a personal empowerment coach, I remember how people were getting back to me years after and telling me, you know what, we really miss you. We miss your light, we miss your smile. You really made a difference. And so this is something that you will realize, that it's not so much about writing a book. It's not so much, you know, being a purposeful person, or doing a purposeful job. You're always being a purposeful person as long as you are walking this planet in your high vibration, and you know you're bringing this light into planet Earth, back into humanity. And also remember that we light workers are not always in a high vibration. We are aiming to be always in a high vibration, because we know that only when there is no energetic resistance can we really be powerful and shining our light. If we are in a lower vibration, we need to take care of those emotions as well. So it's perfectly fine if you're a light worker, but you have ups and downs in your life. You need some time to retreat. That is perfectly fine. So do not let those moments doubt your powerful presence, your healing, uplifting, awakening presence here on Earth. Number 2, as I already said in the first part, you are highly empathic, and your energy is so awakened, I would say, that you can feel other people's energy. So you easily sense the emotions of others, for example. Like me, when I'm with a client, I can see the energy and I can see the blockages of limitations in the energy. And then this is what we are, by being an alchemist, this is what we're going to transform, so that the energy can flow freely again into your body, and you know, you can awaken yourself more. Because as long as you have these knots in your energy field, you cannot really shine, and your body might have you know, tensions that can later turn into diseases or whatever. So you want to be well aware of your energy, but because we are so aware of our own energy, we are also aware of the energy of others. And so for others, it is oftentimes, for me, I always had difficulty in crowds. I have difficulty to be with noisy people, you know. I never really felt the sense or the need to go into discos when I was younger, because the noise was so, I couldn't stand it, you know. For me, a dinner à deux, for example, a dinner with just a dear friend or a few more dear friends. I have my soul pod family in the US. We are 4 people for now, sometimes 5, but our conversations are so much more nourishing to me because we're going deep, we're philosophical, we're talking about our feelings. We're not talking about other people's stuff, you know? We're talking about our own stuff. And I find this to be so much more nourishing, so much more healing. So when you found yourself in crowds or with people and you couldn't really stand their energy, or you were in a coffee shop and somebody sat down next to you and you had to move away, you could just not be next to this person, that's perfectly normal, you know, because your sensitivity is not a weakness. It is your sacred instrument to enlighten and heal yourself and others. And this can only be done with a high level of sensitivity. So be proud of your own sensitivity. Number 3, this is a big one for me. You often feel like you don't belong. Oh my God. If you have been looking my videos, if you have been watching me on YouTube, you know that I always felt like an alien here on this earth. When I came here, I asked myself, I found myself with questions like, what am I doing here? Why is there still war? Why are people still fighting? Why are people walking in the street, not looking at each other, not saying hi to each other? And then I moved to different places. For those of you knowing me, you know I have lived on 3 different continents, the US, Europe, and Asia, in 6 different countries. I grew up in Germany, as you know. Then I went to Spain, then France, then Switzerland, then Hong Kong, the US. So I've been living in many countries, and you know, it didn't matter how far I traveled. The only place I ever felt like I could be my real self was Hawaii. And Hawaii, as I said, is apparently some part of my origin, Lemuria, ancient Lemuria, where we have been a different kind of functioning civilization. Like I remember we were communicating through our pineal glands, through telepathy. You know, we didn't have all these limitations. There was music everywhere, but it wasn't music that was playing from a jukebox or something. It was the music of the sun and the plants and the trees and the planets that we heard, because there was no noise other than the wind and the trees. And human beings were very aware of who they were. So we all were working together, harmonious together, like a big family. I can make a different video about Lemuria to tell you more what I remember. But we're coming back to this time. So you might have been going through the dark nights of the soul. Remember also that suffering is not a sin. Suffering apparently is the initiation for many of us light workers. So if you found yourself with a difficult childhood like I had, for example, like nothing I did was ever good enough. I was criticized for my very being, and my mother was unkind to me for no reason, but I thought something must be very wrong with me. So if you have gone through similar experiences, remember, suffering is a choice, but oftentimes light workers get initiated through suffering. So, and also something that I want to leave you with as number 3, as we're going to number 4, you did not come here to belong. it is perfectly fine to be quirky, to be special, to be your own being. You know, I remember that I love to wear my flower. I don't have my flower in my hair today, but I love to wear flowers in my hair. And I remember when I went visiting my mother, and she said, but you're not going to wear the flower when we are going out together, right? And I said, I'm going to wear my flower. If you don't want to be with me like that, you know, you don't have to, but I'm going to wear my flower. So I remember she is very much concerned about fitting in, you know, to be accepted by the tribe. Whereas for me, I'm wearing my flower no matter what. I'm not wearing it today, obviously, but I'm wearing it, you know. People may say what they want. I don't care. The flower is special to me. So you did not come here to fit in. You came here to be the lighthouse and illuminate the dark paths so that they would become visible. Number 4, you experience synchronicities and spiritual nudges. You often see angel numbers, you often see numbers, you know, like I have been seeing my birthday over and over again. And it was interesting because it looked like a rebirth almost. The fact that I saw my own birthday number, 1605, meant like my own rebirth in a way. And so I also see a lot of 11s. 11s is the portal. 11s is new beginnings, but it's also the portal. We are moving through the portal. So signs are kind of everywhere. And I made a special video about synchronicities. For you that are following me, you know about it. It's life doesn't repeat, it spirals. This is where I talked about the magic and the magic of synchronicity. So, and then remember that signs are everywhere. You just have to open your eyes. Oh, and just now, as I said that, I looked at how many minutes I'm already recording this video and it said 16:05. Isn't that amazing? So you will see those signs over and over, you know. You will also, like for me, for example, I'm working with dolphins, wolves, and hawks. So I have 3 elements as my spiritual guides in a way, the energy that I'm working with. You know, the hawks, they would always call me when I'm nearby. And then I would look up into the sky until I see them. Sometimes they would, you know, just, you know, sailing, they would just be sailing by. And then when I waved to them, they would just do like a wing flap and then they continue sailing. But we have this very, very special connection. And maybe you have animals or people or trees or whatever that you're working with as well. So be on the lookout for those things. Number 5, you are drawn to spirituality and healing and numerology and all these ancient sciences that exist. Numerology, the tarot reading, Reiki, Mayan calendar, whatever it is, you are a mystical seeker. You have always been drawn to things that are uplifting you, that are giving you answers to your deep mystical and spiritual questions. So that is also very, very normal. And your soul actually, it's almost like my soul remembered numerology when I came back to this earth. You know, it's like we remember these ancient healing practices or the way witches were healing. You know, I've always been extremely interested in medicinal plants that are growing around me, which was the curandera or the curandero, you know, the shaman's way to heal with nature's medicine, not with big pharma medicine. So it's almost like when you know these things about yourself and when you use these tools, Earth is giving them to you freely. And you remember that this is not something, this is not esoteric or new world or whatever. It is really the toolkit of a light worker, astrology, psychology, spirituality, numerology. As I said, all these ancient sciences that existed way far back already in Lemuria. So remember, these are toolkit. This is your toolkit. This is not something, you know, like wishy-wishy or woo-woo or new age. No, it is completely normal. You also might be very astute to sounds of instruments. You know, like for me, I always like classical music or the hang drum or drums in general. Anything that has nature sounds like the didgeridoo, the Australian didgeridoo, or, you know, Native American flutes, whatever, Chinese flutes or the Chinese ancient instruments. I always loved these sounds because music is almost also sound is everything. Sound can accelerate healing in our body or disease. This is how powerful sound is. Number 6, you transmute darkness into light. Well, how do you do this? You first become aware of healing your own shadows. You know, you might be drawn to shadow work. You might be drawn to, you have never been a superficial person that was kind of like, oh, I'm feeling this way. Well, I'm just putting my focus on something else now. I'm not looking at that. This is too hard for me to look at. No, you take time. If something doesn't feel right in your, you know, spiritual guidance system, which I call our emotional system, you will look into it. You are not afraid to go deep with yourself. And because you're going deep with yourself, you can go deep with others and with Mother Gaia, with Mother Earth, because you are walking hand in hand with Mother Earth. We are not separated, and Mother Earth is guiding us through this shift right now. She is ascending as well. So the energy grid of Mother Earth and our energy grid are aligning, working hand in hand, walking hand in hand, to transmute light into to transmute darkness into light. And something else I want to say here, I already made a different video about it in February, light versus darkness. Remember that where there's light, darkness cannot exist, because darkness is not an entity in and of itself. Darkness is only the absence of light. So when you have your candle switched on, your match switched on, your light switched on, darkness now will run away from you. And you know, you might be arguing, yeah, but why hasn't it been like this before? And I remember, you know, excuse me, I remember past lifetimes of persecution, of killing, of torturing, because anything that was enlightened, even Jesus, you know, even Christ, was put at the cross. Anything that was enlightened and here to show humanity who we truly are as divine beings was not wanted. But today, in case you have those memories, remember, darkness is not an entity of itself. It is the absence of light. So as long as your light shines and you make sure that your light shines brightly, darkness cannot exist. And remember also that you carry the codes of transformation because you walk the path of fire. You have been through a lot. You know the alchemy of transforming darkness into light, suffering into well-being, you know, illness. When the I becomes we, the illness becomes wellness. Remember all these codes. You carry them within your DNA. And finally, number 7, you feel responsible for the collective shift. You feel responsible in the collective shift as your being. You feel like you contribute a huge part about what is happening on Mother Earth right now. And you do, you know, you feel like this, rightly so, because your raised energy, your raised vibration is the key for humanity to ascend. So take good care of your own sacred self, of your own sacred soul. Remember how sacred you are as you are walking planet Earth in dignity. And remember that you are the lighthouse in the storm. And remember that lighthouses, they don't stand at the coast and then they run behind ships because ships need to find the safe haven. No, lighthouses just stand there. They shine their light and then they let the ships come to shore. seeing where the light is, being guided by the light. So this is my final word to you today, my dear one. I hope this video helped you. Let me know what you're taking away from today's message. I hope these 7 signs are showing you more about who you are, more about your sacred journey. I look forward to read your comments. Your comments mean so much to me, so please leave me a comment in the chat below, and I'll see you in the next video. For those of you looking for help, right now I can include 2 more clients into my coaching schedule again. You know how it works, just simply leave me a message and then we will connect privately, and then from there we go. All the best for you, beautiful soul. God bless, and remember, do not worship anything outside of you. Worship yourself in the divinity of it all. All my love. Bye for now.